Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description to support now.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
I'm Lara Marie Shanehalls.
And I'm Carrie O'Donnell.
And together, we are the hosts of Sexy Unique Podcast, a podcast for geniuses about reality TV, pop culture, and every once in a while, a tangent about 9/11.
I mean, it really affected all of us.
On Sexy Unique Podcast, we insist on discussing the creme de la creme of reality television.
From the current season of Vanderpump Rules to tried and true classics like early seasons of Real Housewives of New Jersey, to underrated gems like VH1's Rock of Love, and even Gallery Girls, we're talking about all of it.
So what are you waiting for? Listen to Sexy Unique Podcast now on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever podcasts matter.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Cognitive Recalibration Podcast, where we talk about our favourite movies, TV shows and video games. I'm your host Shravan. We have our co-host Tone here with us in Hobart as usual.
Hello.
Today is a special episode. We're talking about Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. We have a guest with us today on the podcast. His name is Bhargava Cherukuri. He's a childhood friend of us, a multi-talented individual. That's the only way I can really describe him. He's an excellent violin player. He smashes me at tennis every time we play. And he's also a very big fan of Harry Potter. So that's why we've got him on for today. So welcome.
He's actually Roger Federer, guys. He's using his alias.
How did you know, man?
Yeah.
Stealing my identity. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
So this is going to be a very interesting episode. So all three of us are big fans of Harry Potter. Me personally, I've read the books multiple times. I've got the audiobooks. I listen to the audiobooks every year. I watch the movies every year. So I've got the box set of the Blu-rays. There's probably millions of people like me, but I'm quite a big Harry Potter fan. How about you guys?
Yeah, I'm the same. Read them once a year, even more sometimes. Yeah, fantastic series, and I've always worshipped J.K. Rowling for what she's done, even with the expanded universe. Just before The Cursed Child came out, I was a big fan. And then up until then, I've started to get a bit angsty about a few things, but yeah, definitely a huge fan of Harry Potter.
Pretty much the same. I remember I finished, well, if you guys don't know, I'm younger than Shravan, but he started reading the books before me, but ended up finishing them after me, I'm pretty sure. And
yes.
You had like a 6-year gap where you didn't read them. Yeah,
so I don't know what happened, but I read up to the 4th book, and then I think I started uni. So I started uni when the 5th book came out, and no, actually, when did the 5th book come out? It was like 2005, I think.
2005, yeah. 2006 was 6th, and then 7th was 2007.
Yeah. So now I was at towards the end of my high school years, so I got a little bit busy with study, I guess, and I kind of tuned out of reading. But once the 6th book came out, I just read all of them like in a week again. So
the 7th book.
Yes, no. Once the 6th movie came out, I read everything.
Yeah, that was when the 7th book came out as well. Yeah. And I think a part of that was also the fact that Order of the Phoenix was such a large book.
Yeah, I think that turned me off a bit.
Didn't like the Order of the Phoenix when it first came out.
But now that I look at it, it's actually it's a good book. It's not my favorite, but it's still.
It's amazing. When I read it when I was younger, it was my least favorite book, but now it's one of my most favorite ones, I think.
Yeah. I think I'd be the same.
And in terms of the films, I think that's when they started to get really good, for me anyway. That's when David Yates...
the Yates train?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's when David Yates started directing them.
Yeah.
So,
or as the fans call it, the Yates train.
The Yates train, yeah.
Do they call it that? I didn't know.
No, I just made that up right now.
See what the entire fan base does. No, I think for me, the pinnacle of the movies was number 3. And then it slowly went downhill from there. I thought the fifth movie was really good.
Yeah.
The way that it was done. But I wasn't a huge... the sixth and seventh were good, but I felt they could have been done a bit better.
I think I like the third movie the best for some reason as well, even though it's one of my least favourite books, but the third movie is really good. Fourth movie is definitely the worst one, by far.
When we say worst, it's the worst of them, but I think it's still a good movie.
Yeah. And if you haven't read the book, you might find the fourth one actually really good.
Yeah. Like, I know people that love the fourth one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But based off the source material is so much better than...
I like the third one, but I like it more as a standalone movie because it's very different tonally and everything to the rest of the series.
Yeah, it is. The Yates movies are all pretty good.
Well, until they started doing these, I guess. And we'll
The
talk
Yates
about
train.
that.
Has the Yates train derailed? Shit. Yeah, let's talk about it. Did you guys like the first Fantastic Beasts?
As a standalone, I thought it was good. Sort of did the job. The moment when I learned that they were interweaving the backstory of Grindelwald and Dumbledore and basically World War I of Harry Potter into it, I started getting a bit nervous. Yeah, so I think it works as a standalone, but in the overarching story, I don't think it works as well.
Yeah, I didn't mind the first one. I thought it was okay. Like, I didn't hate it. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of it either, but it was just a movie. And it wasn't as connected to Harry Potter as I guess this movie is. So that's why I was probably okay with it, because it was just a movie in the Wizarding world, as they call it now. But I think you enjoyed the first one.
I personally really like it because it doesn't suffer from what the other Harry Potter movies suffer from, which is it's based on a source material that's much better than the movie. And even though the movie it tries its best to be as good as it, but it's never going to be as good as the books. But since Fantastic Beasts wasn't based off anything, it still had the surprise elements in it, and when you watch the Harry Potter movies, you know what's going to happen, especially if you've read the books. But Fantastic Beasts, you kind of didn't know to a limit what was going to happen, which I thought made it a better film than the other movies. It's not a better story than the other movies, but it's a better film.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I'd agree with that as well.
I'll give you some background as I usually do, and then we'll jump into the review. It's directed by David Yates, or it's on the Yates train, as we just said, and he's directed all the Harry Potter movies since Order of the Phoenix. So this is his... How many Harry Potters has he done? He did 4 Harry Potters and 2 of these, so this is his 6th.
Did he direct a movie last year?
Yeah, he directed Tarzan.
Yeah,
that Tarzan movie with Margot Robbie.
I'd never watched it.
I never watched it either. I'm surprised he had time to fit that movie in and do these movies, because that was... Fantastic Beasts only came out 2 years ago.
But you could manage to do a movie every year if you're good enough.
And I guess this movie, a lot of it would have involved J.K. Rowling as well. It's produced by David Heyman, J.K. Rowling, Steve Kloves, and Lionel Wingram. They were all involved with the Harry Potter series. Obviously, J.K. Rowling, but David Heyman was the main producer on those Harry Potter movies since the first one. It's written by J.K. Rowling, so the screenplay is by J.K. Rowling. This is where it differs from the Harry Potter movies, because Harry Potter movies, the screenplay was written by Steve Kloves, who's a producer on this one, and basically the source material was from J.K. Rowling. She didn't have a massive involvement in the filmmaking process of the Harry Potter movies, whereas in this, she's directly involved. Yeah, and
that's right.
I'll talk about how that is potentially problematic and was problematic in this movie when we get into the review. I think you can already get an idea of how I feel about this.
I already know how both of you feel about this movie.
In terms of budget, it's a $200 million movie. And box office wise, it's going to do about $250 million globally in the opening weekend. And domestically in the US, it's going to do between $65 to $73 million. So it's going to make money. Obviously, there's a lot of Harry Potter fans out there.
Harry Potter will make money.
So it's going to make money. In terms of development, so on October 2016, just before the first Fantastic Beasts came out, they announced that they're going to do 5 of these. So it's going to be a 5-movie series. On November 16th, to a lot of people's, discontent, Johnny Depp was announced as Gellert Grindelwald. And
Johnny Depp.
And he also featured in the first one as a cameo right at the end. And a lot of people didn't like that either because Colin Farrell was
Farrell was so good in that movie.
really good in that movie.
Yeah.
And you find out that he turns into Johnny Depp at the end. We'll talk about it more when we jump into the review, but I actually thought he was okay.
He's not the worst.
And a number of actors were considered for the role of Dumbledore, because Dumbledore's in this movie, a younger version of Dumbledore. So the actors that they considered were Christian Bale, Benedict Cumberbatch, Mark Strong, Jared Harris, who would have been interesting because Jared Harris is the son of Richard Harris, who was Dumbledore in the first 2 Harry Potter movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That guy must be pretty old then, because that guy in the first 2 movies was like 100 years old.
Yeah, Jared Harris is, Sherlock Holmes, the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes? He's Moriarty.
Oh, okay.
That's right, yeah. So he's 57 years old now.
Well, the first Dumbledore was gonna die like any day. Like he sounded pretty.
It was like every day on filming that and Doctor on standby. So like shit. How old's Johnny Depp?
Johnny Depp.
He'd be like 50.
Yeah, I think he's 50-something now.
I think him and Jude Law are around the same age.
Yeah, well, I know when they were looking for the Dumbledore, they were looking for someone around Johnny Depp's age.
Johnny Depp is 55, so he's only 2 years younger than
Jared Harris.
Jared Harris.
Yeah. And this is the first movie where we see the rebranded Wizarding World. So everyone wants to be Marvel now, so they all have their own
I
thing.
missed that because I walked in late. How was it?
No, it says Warner Bros. And then it says Wizarding World. That's it.
Oh, okay.
That's it. That's all it is. So it's like remember the Dark Universe?
The Dark Universe,
Yeah.
my favorite universe. I still stand by that.
And then Worlds of DC or whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they've had that in a movie yet, though. Aquaman will be the first one.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll jump into the review. As usual, we ask our guest to give us the outline of the story, spoiler free. So I've already worded up Buji on this because the story for this is not the easiest to explain, spoiler free.
I was trying to think about the story yesterday. It's because there's not much of the story to explain. So yeah, it's hard.
It's interesting because a lot of things happen for there not to be much of a story. There's a lot happening, but anyway, we'll let you explain.
Yeah, sure. So the best that I can explain it is, so the story follows on from Fantastic Beasts 1. The story revolves more around Grindelwald, who, as we saw at the end of Fantastic Beasts 1, is captured by the American Ministry of Magic. And at the start, if anyone's seen the trailers, see that he's being held still. And we also see Dumbledore and his relationship with Newt, along with several other familiar members of the Fantastic Beasts family, including Tina, Queenie, and of course our nomad Jacob. So the best that you can explain the story is Dumbledore has obviously tasked Newt with stopping or following Grindelwald, and the story just kicks on from there. And it's a bit of a tough one to sort of explain with no spoilers, I think. And again, because there's so many stories in this one movie, there's so many different arcs, and they all interweave in certain ways. And yeah, so that's the best that you can explain the story, I guess, without spoiling too much.
I guess that's better than either of us would have done. So, yeah, like I was talking to Buji yesterday. This was before I saw the movie, and I was saying, it's probably, from what I saw in the trailers, it's probably Grindelwald escapes and Newt is told to try to hunt down Grindelwald by Dumbledore. I thought that's what it was. Yeah. That's kind of what it is. That's kind of what it is.
More or less,
yeah. But not really at the same time. There's a lot of other things happening as well.
That's the only stuff that matters, though, kind of. But yeah, there is other stuff.
We'll quickly talk about the cast. So we've got the returning cast and we've got some new members joining the cast. So we've got Eddie Redmayne. So Newt Scamander is the main character in this franchise, but at the same time, he's not really an important character in terms of the larger scheme of things. But he was fine. Like, he does what he did in the first movie.
I like what Eddie Redmayne does with Newt.
I think he's
like
great.
Awkward and
He's very likable. Very likable.
Yeah, that's one thing about... I think all the returning cast, except for one, which we'll talk about in spoilers, were good. Like, they were just the same as what they were in the first one, kind of an extension of what they set up in the first one. So I like that. So we've also got Catherine Waterston as Tina Goldstein, who we met in the first movie, And we've got Dan Fogler, who was the No-Maj or the Muggle. Jacob Kowalski, yeah. And Alison Sudol as Queenie. She's Tina's sister, isn't she?
That's right.
Yeah. And Ezra Miller's back. He's got rid of that haircut, thankfully.
He looks fresh in this movie.
Yeah, he actually looks all right.
Quite good.
Almost as good as you, Taz.
Oh, thank you.
So he plays Credence Barebone. I can't remember the first one because I didn't rewatch it. But do we know that he survived?
So at the end,
There's an end credit scene.
all you see, well, the first hint you get is just before they reveal, or just after they reveal Grindelwald and they take him away, I think, or maybe before that. Newt takes a look up towards the ceiling and he notices some of the obscurious, like...
Still floating away, right?
away.
Yeah, that's right.
I
Yeah.
think that's
And
the
then
first
there's
hint
an
you
end
get.
credit scene where he gets onto the boat.
Yeah,
that
that's
Newt
right.
gets onto.
He gets onto the same boat.
And then we got the new members. Well, I guess Zoe Kravitz,
She was in a photo.
she was in a photo in the first one.
Yeah.
So she plays Leta Lestrange. For those who are fans of Harry Potter, they will recognize the surname of Lestrange. And they kind of talk about that in this movie.
It's Voldemort's last name, isn't it?
Such a big Harry Potter.
Yeah.
We've got Callum Turner, who plays Theseus Scamander, who's the elder brother of Newt Scamander. He's an Auror, I think, with the
That
Ministry
dude
of Magic.
looked really familiar. Who is he?
Very familiar. He's
He
very,
looked
very
like
familiar.
generic British well-dressed person, number 3.
He kind of looks like Eddie Redmayne, though.
Yeah,
He looks very similar.
And then we've got Claudia Kim as Nagini, who they show it in the trailers. She's in it, I guess.
She was in it.
Yeah. We saw her earlier in Age of Ultron, actually. That was...
She was in that as well.
She was in that as well, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've got probably the two characters that should be the main characters in this movie, Dumbledore and Grindelwald. So Dumbledore played by Jude Law, Grindelwald played by Johnny Depp. So we'll talk about positives and negatives. We'll start with Tyrone with his positives.
Okay. Positives. You put me on the spot. I'm usually second, so I have some time to think about it.
I'll put you first this time because I think you'll have more positives than both of us.
The characters mostly are all good. There's a couple of them that are just in it for the sake of being in it, but mostly everyone's good. And all the main characters give good performances, I think. Everyone's likable still. It's the last probably half an hour of the movie is quite good and action-packed, and a decent amount of stuff happens to keep you interested. They shoehorn Fantastic Beasts in, but the beasts that they put in are kind of interesting in themselves, so that was good as well. And, you know, it's just always good to go back to the Wizarding World. They give you, like, Hogwarts in some flashback scenes, which didn't seem too out of place. And it was good to go back into Hogwarts. Good to see Dumbledore young. Jude Law is probably the best part of this movie. But he's underused. But
he's
he
not
is
in
the
it
best
much,
part.
yeah.
Yeah, so overall, it's got a lot to like about it. In terms of the atmosphere and everything like that. It's good. It's the Paris... It shows you Paris and their like Ministry of Magic and stuff, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, so overall the atmosphere, the story is the worst part about it, but yeah, the rest of it I thought was okay.
Okay, what were your positives?
Yeah, I'd be very similar. So I think I've got three main ones. The first one being the acting. So I mean, all the cast members give amazing performances. I thought there wasn't anyone that I felt, it doesn't seem right or off place. Everyone did a really good job, especially Jude Law and Johnny Depp as Dumbledore and Grindelwald, respectively. I wish they were in the movie a bit more, but again, can't fault their acting. They were brilliant. Second, I think Taryn mentioned this as well, but the return to familiar aspects of the Harry Potter universe, Hogwarts, seeing new Ministry of Magics, seeing how the Wizarding World is in different countries. I think that's something that we didn't get in Harry Potter. It was good to see, because I think J.K. Rowling released the whole Pottermore universe after the 7th book, and she spoke about the other wizarding schools, the other wizarding worlds in different countries, and how the first hint we get is when we learn of Beauxbaton and Durmstrang in number 4, that there are other other wizarding schools. Yeah. So that was a big up for me as well, good positive. And the last was I was always skeptical about how the Fantastic Beasts would be I guess, shoehorned into the story.
Yes.
But I think I was surprisingly pleased with how they sort of did it.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with the decision that they did it, but the way they did it was done well.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
yeah.
it's shoehorned in still, but they're good.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not displeased that they're in it.
Yeah. So those would be my top 3 positives.
My positives are similar. So the casting was really good. Even Johnny Depp was really good. Jude Law was good, underutilized. The returning cast was good. So in terms of what they didn't have much to work with, but the actors were good. And the second positive is probably visually it's very, very good. So visual effects wise, the beasts look really good. Like you guys said, it's in Paris, so that looked very good. So yeah, it's good that they're showing like the international wizarding world, which you never really visited in Harry Potter. That was very much based in the UK. So it's good that they're exploring that part of the universe in these movies. But yeah, unfortunately that's all I had in terms of positives, because that's really all I enjoyed about the movie. So we can jump into negatives. We'll go in the same order. So what were your negatives?
My negative is also a bit of a positive, but in the Harry Potter world, the kids, who's doing the magic that you see is mostly Harry, Hermione, and Ron, and they're kids at school, so like they don't have the greatest magical skills. And the thing about Fantastic Beasts, you see full-grown adults doing magic, and it should be at like a whole different level to what the kids are doing. And you get a bit of that in the Fantastic Beasts movies in terms of they're doing like next level magic. It's just you don't get enough of it. There's like some cool magic stuff that they do, but they could do a whole lot more with it. And these are like some of the greatest wizards to ever live. They should be doing
They should be doing more. Like Dumbledore doesn't, we'll talk about it in spoilers, but you don't see much of him in this movie.
Even Grindelwald, he doesn't do that much.
Considering the movie's it's got his name in the title, he doesn't do much. But I was expecting, like, at the end of Order of the Phoenix, the movie, when Dumbledore fights Voldemort, I was expecting that level of magic. Like, that was the best we see in that series, I think, in terms of battles.
Yep.
I was expecting more of that, but we still haven't got that yet in this series, even though the wizards and witches in this are capable of doing magic like that, but
they just don't seem to be doing it. There is some parts where they do some different stuff that we haven't seen before, but I don't think they do that enough. The story is pretty shit. It's not the worst, but there's this scene at the start that's really well done. And then from there up till about the last half an hour, it's kind of slow and nothing much happens. It's a story where a lot happens and nothing much happens. Like, there's a whole load of characters, they all converge on one place. But in between that, there's nothing happening. There's no overarching story that's really happening. It's just random shit going on in the middle. So most of the middle's quite boring without much. And yeah, there's some characters that are wasted. And one character in particular that I think her motivations are a bit, I've kind of ruined who it is by saying her as well, but her motivations at the end are like, that's a bit not you. That doesn't make sense. Yeah.
It's Luna Lovegood, right?
Yes, correct. Correct.
Hashtag spoilers.
Okay, anything else in terms of negatives?
Yeah, look, that was about it. It's just the overarching story is the part that most, and it also pisses off a couple of Harry Potter laws, and
yeah,
just
well,
fucks around with a couple of things. Yeah,
we'll get full in depth on that. Yeah,
He's referring to the WhatsApp chats that me and Taryn had last night.
Our WhatsApp chat last night was mostly about how Zoe Kravitz's mum is now married to Jason Momoa.
In real life, that's weird. Yeah, So
she was married to Lenny Kravitz. I wanted to bring this up in some way in the podcast, and I'm happy it's up now. This was most of my research last night. So she was married to Lenny Kravitz, and then they broke up. Their only daughter is Zoe Kravitz.
So her stepfather is Jason Momoa.
Yeah. Jason Momoa is 10 years older than Zoe Kravitz and 20 years younger than Lisa Bonet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's probably going to be the most interesting part of this episode.
Oh, I was super into it last night. Also, side note, Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet eloped in Las Vegas when they got married. It's a big story back in
scandal.
the 80s.
Okay. She does a good British accent, though.
Lisa Bonet or Zoe Kravitz?
I don't know how Lisa Bonet talks.
Lisa
but
Bonet was on The Cosby Show, if you've seen that.
Yeah. You told me to watch it yesterday. So.
Yeah.
I was referring to Zoe Kravitz. She does a pretty good British accent.
Yeah, she's not bad. She does a good job. Anyway, on with the show.
On with the show, yeah.
That
So,
was my sidebar.
Budgie's negatives.
So I've got quite a few, as both of you would know. I think the biggest one that I want to touch on mostly is the fact that there's a lack of story in the movie. It's very surprising given the movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and it's also disappointing. There's a lot of interweaving arcs and lines and characters, but it doesn't really come together in the end. There's a lot of things that just happen and you don't really care all that much. Like stuff happens and you're like, if it didn't happen, it wouldn't have affected you in any way.
Yeah.
I felt. And that was disappointing because, these actors are killing it in their roles, and it's just disappointing that they don't have the arcs or the stories to fulfill those roles effectively. And the other one is, and it's a theme that's running along with a number of different movies now that's kind of worrying, and it's that directors might be thinking that it's enough to throw in a bunch of Easter eggs to a series that was of a much higher quality, and we saw that with The Last Jedi, Star Wars, and now we're seeing it with this.
We've seen it with the DC movies as well.
Yeah, and it's a worrying sign. There's no foundation of the story, and I think people know Easter eggs are meant to be just the icing on top of the cake. It's not meant to be part of the foundation, and I'm worried that the story is trying to incorporate Easter eggs into the foundation to sustain it, and that's what's causing it to fall.
This movie is like a mixture of Easter eggs and mystery boxes to keep it going.
Yeah. And it's like, there's a mystery segment to the movie, and I think that's one of the highlights of the movie. But then from there, it sort of goes into a number of different storylines and arcs, and it sort of just becomes a mess.
Yeah.
And that's something about the original Harry Potter series that was so captivating. It's that every book and every movie had that mystery, and you would discover it along with the characters.
Yes.
It wouldn't be a bombshell drop or a character revealing something out of nowhere that you don't really follow or doesn't make sense or things like that. So that's one of the things that I felt when I was watching this movie. It's just something that drags it down. And yeah, those are the two main negatives that I have.
My negatives are similar, so it's very plot heavy, the movie. There's a lot happening, but at the same time, there's not much happening. So there's scenes, and stuff happens in the scenes, but then you go to the next scene, and it's something different. And then you get invested in that scene, and then you go to another scene, and it's something completely different again. And it's all just a little bit incoherent when you put it together. Like, it doesn't really gel together as a movie. There are good scenes, like there are parts that I enjoyed by themselves, but when you put it together as a whole, doesn't really make much sense. They made a couple of character choices towards the end of the movie, and I just didn't buy them. Like, I didn't buy either of them. I thought one of them was continuity breaking. Like, for those who are invested in the Harry Potter lore, it was completely, it didn't make sense at all, and you can just tell that J.K. Rowling's just retconning stuff to appeal to, I don't know who she wants to appeal to, maybe the new audience, but the new audience can't get invested in this movie because it's so disjointed, so it wouldn't make any sense to them. And for Harry Potter fans, it's got Easter eggs and stuff, but I think a lot of them will be offended by the fact that they thought they could just chuck stuff on the screen, all these references, and we'd just like it. I think fans probably deserve better than that because we've invested a lot of our lives into this franchise. It's also a bit of a exhausting movie to watch. It's a bit boring at parts, and you're just waiting for kind of things to come together, and they do at the end, but they do it through there's a lot of exposition in this movie. So people just tell you stuff. So at the start, they just tell you why Grindelwald's doing something. At the end, there's a
massive exposition scene.
There's like a 20-minute exposition scene where they just tell you everything. Literally.
To be honest, I didn't mind that exposition scene. I know it wasn't the best storytelling method, but I'm like, oh, that's okay. Yeah.
Something because your favorite characters in that scene, Tara.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that the title of this movie, or the title of this whole franchise, so the franchise is Fantastic Beasts, but to be honest, it's got very little to do with the Fantastic Beasts. The first movie did more than this movie, but there's no reason for that title to be there anymore, because the Harry Potter movies, they're obviously Harry Potter and something, and it's Harry Potter and what he encounters in that movie, so it makes complete sense. Whereas this is Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, and I could argue that Fantastic Beasts are hardly in this movie, so you don't need that. And the Crimes of Grindelwald, he's not even in it. Like, his name's in the title, and he's hardly even in the movie.
Like, he doesn't rob a bank or anything. There's no heist scene. He doesn't even do any murders. Like, come on, where are the crimes?
When they announced this movie and they said it was going to be called Crimes of Grindelwald, I thought it would be like Infinity War. I thought it would be like he would be the main character. Grindelwald would be the main character. Like in Infinity War, Thanos is the main character, and you follow him. I thought it'd be like that, and we just get more acquainted with this Grindelwald character, because he's mentioned in the Harry Potter books, mostly towards the end of the series, and we get to know him there. But I thought it would be more about him, and we get to know more about his character. But it really wasn't much of that at all.
I at least expected some crimes. There wasn't enough crimes. That's the real worry here.
He doesn't do a lot of the crimes. Like, he gets a lot of his henchmen and stuff to do stuff. So he physically doesn't do that much.
I think a big part reason might be because before Fantastic Beasts even came about, I'm pretty sure it was Warner Brothers that approached J.K. Rowling, and they were like, we want to create a story set before the Harry Potter universe. And that's when she got involved, and this sort of came about. And
they met her and said, J.K. Rowling, we want money.
Yeah, pretty much. I reckon we can make more here. There's not enough Fantastic Beasts. There's not enough crimes, and there's not enough Grindelwald.
Yeah.
Yeah, the title, all three parts of the title.
There's nothing there. Yeah. I wouldn't even mind if they were going to just do Fantastic Beasts movies. I wouldn't mind just seeing Newt Scamander like on his adventures, like capturing beasts. Like, I would watch that movie. And that would make more sense than what they're doing here.
Or just a movie where Grindelwald goes around and does crimes.
Yeah, I would watch that too.
As well.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp that's robbing a convenience store.
It's actually a good point, because in the first one, he does say that he works with dragons. During the war, he was working with, I think it was Irish. I can't remember the dragon species, but he was working with dragons, and like it would be cool to see his life before that.
Yeah.
See what he does after Hogwarts, after he gets expelled, where he goes, what he does, how he became to write the book, and how he became known as Newt Scamander.
His name is mentioned in the Harry Potter series, but you really don't know anything about him. So you wouldn't have all these retcon issues as well with like, you know, established characters being changed for the purposes of this franchise. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they made choices and they're going with it, so there's nothing...
It is what it is, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do now. We'll give our ratings and then we'll jump into spoilers, because I think we're all waiting to spill the beans. So we'll start with your rating, Tyrone.
52.3.
Okay.
Is that out of 100?
Maybe.
We kind of made a pact, because I used to explain what his ratings mean every single episode. Right. But last episode, we're like, we're not going to explain it anymore.
Okay.
But I'll explain it for your convenience. So basically, it gives a number.
Yeah.
And it's not out of a particular... Like, it's out of something, but every time it gives a number, it's out of something different.
Okay.
So last episode, he would have given another number, but it was out of a different... So it's like a moving scale.
Okay, cool.
So...
it's a constantly moving scale.
Yeah, so it's up to the listener's interpretation.
There's an algorithm to figure it out. I'm just waiting for someone to...
No, that's good. It's about as solid as the foundations of this movie.
Yeah. All right. What's your rating?
I'd probably give it 4 out of 10.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I was struggling to give a rating for this movie because I can see There's two types of fans. So there's the fans that just like anything that features their favorite characters. So I can see some Harry Potter fans just loving this movie. But I'm the other kind of fan, and I need a little bit more substance. And if you're going to make a movie that involves the Harry Potter franchise characters, do something that expands on the universe and doesn't detract from the original source material. So this does that a little bit. So unfortunately, I'd have to give it, from my point of view, I'd say don't go out of your way to watch this movie. But, if it's on TV or if it's on Netflix or something, you just want a casual watch it. But I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it at the cinema necessarily.
I still enjoyed it. I think if you're a Harry Potter fan, you should probably watch it.
Well, no one's going to listen to what I say if you're a Harry Potter. Like, everyone's going to watch it, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
So
It is Harry Potter. You can't not watch it.
They're going to watch it.
I enjoyed it more than these two guys. I think it's a passable movie. Not as good as the first one, but okay. Yeah.
I think it's also because the original Harry Potter movies are to a very high standard. So you're just comparing it to that as well. And it just doesn't live up to that.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near those movies.
So the big question, has the Yates train derailed?
I think it has.
I think it's,
I'm unfortunately going to say it has.
Or is it like on the way? It's going across a bend, it's too fast.
It's like that
Sad
scene
to
in Polar
derail.
Express where it goes across the lake and it just completely goes off the rails.
Yeah. So it's at that part, is it?
It's at that
Okay.
part. And you might, it might go back on the rails at some point. You never know.
I don't know if he's going to be back to direct the next one. We'll have to see.
Or the next three.
Yeah, or the next three. Yeah, there's 3 more of these.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll jump into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie and you care about spoilers, go and watch the movie by all means and come back and listen to us. But if you don't care about spoilers, then just keep listening, I guess. All right, so we'll start. How are we going to do this? Do you want to do this the way we normally do it and just go through the story and say what we think?
Yeah, let's go through the main story parts. The first part of the movie is really good.
Yeah.
When Grindelwald escapes.
Yep. I thought that was a very well done scene. It was. It's sort of like the moment he put him into that cart, and you see. I can't remember, were they Thestrals or something?
I think that was.
I think they're
Thestrals. Yeah. It was just something about that scene. It was like, oh my god, this feels like Harry Potter.
Yeah. And you see how powerful he is as well in that
Yeah,
scene.
he just rips them all apart.
Yeah. No, it's really, really good. I'm not too sure why that ministry guy decided to join him, or if it was just manipulation, or because there was a hint. He was saying that Grindelwald was very manipulative, very convincing with his words.
Yeah.
Which is part of the movie to begin with, but not really explored that much again.
Yeah. I was hoping they would explore that more because it would make perfect sense. I mean, in the books, you realize that him and Dumbledore really got along, and it would
Yeah,
the way
it
he
makes
did things,
sense.
It
Yeah.
makes sense. So that scene was done very well, I thought.
He does some cool magic, which is the only part in the movie where he does cool magic.
Yeah, that's true.
Even the end scene where he does magic is shit, because it's just a fire. Who the fuck cares? So blue fire. It's not that amazing.
Yeah.
There's a part in that scene that I actually laughed. I'll tell you once we get to that scene. But
There's one thing. What was that creature at the start?
that was
that
guarding
was so
him.
random.
Yeah.
That was really
I
random.
don't know what was on about. What was that?
It was some
Yeah.
random creature that it's like on the minister guy's face.
Yeah.
And then he picks it up and he's like, "You're too clingy," and he chucks it out the window.
I think that's just foreshadowing for what the rest of the movie is going to be like.
But overall, that scene was pretty good, I reckon.
Yeah.
Well, that scene, it gives you high expectations, but it ends on a low, which is kind of what the whole movie does.
Yeah.
It builds you up, and then it just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also get a glimpse of that blood pact. That
Yes.
little emblem thing that he carries around.
That
Yeah.
he carries around, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was just some bling. He doesn't want to miss out on his locket, but it's a bit more important than that.
Yeah.
So then we skip to 3 months later, and we meet Newt in the Ministry of Magic. Apparently he wasn't meant to be traveling overseas or something, and he got caught, and now he can't.
I think it was more he caused a lot of
can't
commotion
travel
in New
now.
America, and now he can't travel.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was just like the ministry up there probably like, I don't know, they probably exchanged a few
It
words.
wasn't really his fault, though.
Not really
Exactly, yeah.
explained that well.
Yeah. That's
But there's this exposition scene that happens afterwards where it's like, Credence is alive. Grindelwald's after Credence. We want you to search for Credence.
They just tell him that, and they tell us that.
Yeah. And then the funniest part of the movie this guy's standing in the corner of the room for the whole time.
He comes and I guess I have
the job mine
It's like,
now.
what the fuck are you?
Who is
Who
this
the
guy?
fuck's this guy?
And he's in like 2 other scenes afterwards, and that's it.
And it's
Yeah,
never
what happens to
explained
him?
who the fuck that guy is.
I just realized I don't even know what happens to the guy.
Who is that guy?
So he's obviously working with Grindelwald,
We
right?
find out later he's working with
Yeah.
Grindelwald.
But there's clearly some history between him and Newt, because Newt's like, oh, this guy, when he walks into
They
the
never
room.
explained it.
Yeah, they never explain that.
So what is he doing here?
I don't know who he is or what he was doing. Why he was waiting in the corner of the room for the whole time. It's so funny.
We also see Theseus and Lita in that scene.
Yes.
So we get the first look at Lita and Theseus, and they've done really well with the casting, I think, with Theseus. He looks amazingly like Newt Scamander.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look really similar. I wouldn't be surprised if they're related.
Yeah, so the scene happens. So he gets told that he'll be allowed to travel and finish his book if he agrees to find Credence. The guy turns up, Newt loses his shit and walks out, and then Theseus gives him a hug and says
Some reason.
that they're watching him, but apparently not, because he does all this other stuff in the movie and nothing ever happens.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Not anymore, they're not.
Maybe he meant he was just watching them until he exited the ministry.
Well, there is that guy that follows him after ministry, and then he like blows him away with the wind.
Oh
Do you
yeah,
remember
that's
that
right.
scene?
That scene,
Yeah.
yeah.
He blows him away, and then he meets Dumbledore,
That's right. Yeah,
which is a cool
that's a
scene.
That's a cool
Yeah.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually felt kind of underwhelmed by that scene. I was like, it just doesn't feel like Dumbledore to meet on a random rooftop somewhere. You know, like
Maybe in his youth he was
maybe he was a
more
bit
adventurous.
radical.
Yeah.
He was a bit more romantic in his youth. He liked to meet
He was
on
definitely
rooftops.
much more well dressed in his youth than he was when he gets older.
He's got a nice ass.
Well, okay. I wasn't paying attention to that. I didn't realize there were shots of his.
Oh, there's lots
Yeah.
of shots of his ass. Rewatch it and then you'll see it.
Guess I got a reason to go give them more money now.
I thought he was really good though. He's got that twinkle in his eye.
He does, yeah. He does give you that same magical presence.
Yeah.
That Dumbledore gave you in the books and in the movies.
And he's always like got this cheeky smile on his face, even though he's like about to die or like they're like interrogating him and stuff. So.
Yeah. I think it's almost always like you always feel as though he's like 5-6 steps ahead.
Yeah,
of the
he's
situation.
always in control.
He's always
Yeah.
in control.
Which
Obviously not
even
later
in
on,
the
but-
original series he was.
Yeah.
So.
Until the end of the sixth one, where he's drinking water and hallucinating.
Yeah.
After a couple of tequila shots.
Well, yeah. I think he knew that would happen
He was
too.
ahead
Yeah.
of it as well.
Yeah, I think he knew that, but
Yeah.
yeah. He also knew that he was going to die soon. So
But basically, Jude Law captures the magic. I think he's better than the guy in the third.
Michael
through to
Gambon?
seventh. I hate Michael Gambon as Dumbledore.
nah, he peaked in the fourth one.
Peaked as in peaked in how shit he is.
I
That.
thought he peaked in the sixth one, just as he fell, you know.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of Michael Gambon as Dumbledore. I like the old dude that dies.
But he sounded like he was gonna die. We watched the first one recently, and he just sounds very lethargic. Like he's like, Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
I don't think Harris Senior would have been able to do 3 to 6
No,
or
he wouldn't
3 to 7 the way that Michael Gambon did. It was just
Yeah.
like the acting was just
He
different.
wouldn't be able to
Yeah,
do
it's
all
different,
the
yeah.
action stuff.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't have.
Especially the fight scene with Voldemort. That would have been
Yeah,
so
no,
much
that would have
Yeah,
been
that
hard.
would have been
yeah.
hard. Weird thing. Why did Dumbledore age like 20 years in the span of this movie? Did you guys realize that?
Yeah, I think that was just a. I did notice that he had a lot more grey hairs.
He had
he looked
so
a lot
much more
older.
grey hair.
I think it
Was it because so there was flashback scenes, right? When Newt's like younger. Are you talking
Okay,
about
maybe
that?
maybe I got
Yeah.
confused between the flashback scenes and
Yeah,
the current scene.
because he
that
looks.
would make sense.
He looks the
Yeah.
same, but just his hair's not as grey. And then in like towards the end of the movie, his hair's a bit greyer. That's it.
I looked at the end. I'm like, how much time did this movie take? Like, how long is the movie in actual?
I don't think it was that long. Maybe like a week.
Yeah, no, it just seems like he aged he aged like 2 years in that week.
Yeah.
I felt that they were just trying to get the impression that he was under a lot of stress, but again, it doesn't really explain why. In the books, you sort of understand that he's fighting against this whole urge. Like the Ministry asked him to fight Grindelwald many times, but he always declines. He's worried about facing that fear. In the movie, they don't explain that, obviously, but I think that's what they were trying to go for. Like, he's just under a lot of stress, and he looks older or tired or whatever it is.
How old was Dumbledore when he died?
When he died, 110, I think. He was born 1880.
He died in
the
19...
1880s, and he died 1997.
I'll look it up. Dumbledore death age.
Pretty sure he was 100 and something.
150. About 150.
150?
No, he was 115 when he died.
Oh, yeah, it says... At first, it said about 150 years, and then when you read into it, it says he was either 115 or 116 when he died.
That's not even close to being 150.
Yeah.
It's
so
like,
born 1881, died 1997.
So I guess it makes sense, because in the Harry Potter movies, he looks very old.
Yeah.
Compared to how he looks in this. So, yeah.
we skipped around a bit, but...
So we're up to when we meet Dumbledore. So after that, what happens after that?
He goes to Paris.
He goes to Paris not because Dumbledore told him, but because Tina's there. That was my interpretation of it.
Yeah, that's what my interpretation was as well.
So he gets given the card by Dumbledore.
But he's still reluctant to sort of do it.
Yeah, he's reluctant. He finds out, he goes home, and then Queenie turns up.
And then Queenie and
Jacob, yeah.
This is when things start to get a bit crazy, because I didn't understand why she'd need to put a spell on him to make him marry her. And that whole scene, it changes very quickly. So firstly, it looks like they're in love. And then obviously you find out there's a spell. And then he takes a spell off him. And then they have an argument. And then she just goes crazy and just leaves him.
Yeah. That's one thing I don't understand. So her story, the reason she got upset is because Jacob didn't want to marry her for fear of her being imprisoned for breaking the statutory law, whatever it is about marrying marriages. But I'm pretty sure that's only there in America. Because when Newt comes to America, he says that America's the one that has the backward laws about relations.
And that's why they come to London.
Why don't they just go to the UK or Paris or like wherever it was?
Well, that's why she brings him to the UK. But I don't know why she had to put a spell on him, because he would have agreed to do it. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I don't think they would have minded living in the UK if it meant that they could be together.
It's really weird. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Even if they explain something as simple as Jacob didn't want to leave his bakery in America.
Yeah,
something just like give a reason, give an explanation.
And what happens afterwards with her character later in the movie makes absolutely no sense with regards to what she says at the start of the movie.
Yeah, I can't imagine someone like that, like of her intellect, and she's a Legolas as well, and she never uses that against Grindelwald for some reason. Yeah.
It's very suspect decisions made at the end.
Considering she's in love with the Muggle, why would she side with Grindelwald? It makes no sense.
He's famous for torturing Muggles.
He kills them. He straight up kills. He kills a little kid at the start of this movie because of the Muggle.
Oh no, he doesn't. His henchman does. Remember, no crimes.
That was actually interesting because
he doesn't do any crimes.
Because I watched the first movie very recently, and the angle they show that little kid with, I don't know how I sort of recognize this, but the angle they show that little kid is the same angle they show Harry. And I think they kind of established the difference between Voldemort and Grindelwald, in that Grindelwald, he didn't kill the child himself. He got someone else to do it for him. Whereas Voldemort was willing to do everything himself. He was willing to kill people by himself. He was more evil, I guess, than Grindelwald in a way. Whereas Grindelwald, he's evil, but I think there's still...
But he's also a nice guy.
There's a slightly good part to him. Maybe.
I see what they're trying to go with, in that they're trying to say that he's not... And he sort of talks about this at the end as well. He's not a complete... maniac. He's not an anarchist. He's just he's got a vision.
Yeah,
and he wants to see it through. And he obviously sees himself as the hero of his story. See, here's the thing though, right? There's a lot of we're never really told exactly how bad Grindelwald is. All we know is that he was the Dark Lord before Voldemort. Everything, his war was basically the World War One of the Wizarding World.
Yes.
And he imprisoned his enemies in Nurmengard, which was his headquarters, or the fortress that he built to imprison his enemies.
Which you see at the end of the movie, actually.
You do see Nurmengard. And it's actually very similar to the design of the 7th Harry Potter movie, when Harry has the vision of Voldemort visiting
Grindelwald,
in Nurmengard. It's a very similar design. So that was it was a cool Easter egg that they did there.
I think because Voldemort, they established that he, since he's born through a love potion, basically, he can't feel love or emotion. He's very detached from people in general. Whereas I think Grindelwald's different in the way I think he can empathize with people. I don't think he's a monster as such, but he just the means which he takes to achieve his dreams is not the right one.
Yeah, quite radical.
That was, I guess, that was one good part. That was like 2 seconds of this 2.5 hour movie.
And then so Queenie comes, she leaves. Does Jacob then tell Newt about Tina being in Paris?
No, I think he finds a postcard. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they find the postcard,
and then they decide to go to Paris. And there's a scene how they walk to the edge of the UK and there's a portkey or something.
That's right. Yeah, the portkey.
This stuff's all really slow.
It is. It's quite slow.
But it's slow, but you can handle it because the characters are, at least they're likable, the characters. So it's not the worst, but yeah. You kind of want to see more Grindelwald because they introduce him in that scene and
exactly.
what he does. But yeah.
So Grindelwald's in Paris as well, looking for Credence. Credence is in Paris. He's in this circus with Nagini. Some random shit happens and they escape the circus.
Pretty much. That's the best way you can explain it.
So Nagini, there was no reason for her to be Nagini.
Yeah, she's in this movie. She's in this movie.
There's so
I feel like they just did that. They're like, oh, Harry Potter fans will love this because it's a character that they know. And she didn't even need to be in the movie, to be honest. She
doesn't do anything.
There's a lot of decisions that, why can't Nagini just be a snake?
Yeah, she didn't need to be a person.
Yeah.
And then there's that massive exposition scene how he's telling the audience, he's like, she's going to turn to a snake and she won't be able to turn back one day. And he's just telling the audience directly the backstory of Nagini.
See, that's the thing. Are those people, the audience, are they magical community members?
I think so. But there was a lot of confusion in this movie because there's some scenes where I didn't know if it was in the magical world or the real world.
Yeah. I had
there'd be stuff happening. Beast would be running on the streets of Paris. And I'm like, why aren't they more surprised? Why aren't normal people...
It's all in the magical world. It's implied it's all in the magical world.
Okay. That would make sense, but there was nothing that convinced me that it was.
Yeah. And it's even the transform, that whole scene with Nagini, surely some of those magical members have seen Animagi before, or have known Animagi, or have seen, or are aware of Animagi. If it was a werewolf, that would be much more scary in my opinion, because they're so much more rare. But I don't even know the name of what she is. But the decision to include her into the movie, I felt was just retconning some of the...
She doesn't serve any relevance in the plot. She just follows Credence around until the end.
Exactly. And now there's going to be she's going to find Voldemort, Tom Riddle somehow, and it's a bit weird. It's barring all the racial things about a Southeast Asian
turning
actor
into a snake,
and then becoming a subjugated Horcrux for Voldemort, and providing milk for him, and all this other stuff that people have talked about. And this was what happened when she was cast as Nagini. It just highlights there's no need to redo some of the lore as it was. You can keep it as it was. And there's a lot of decisions that were being made about the lore.
Not everyone needs a backstory.
Exactly.
The snake doesn't need the backstory.
Exactly, yeah.
Definitely didn't. And she ends up siding with Voldemort, right?
She does.
So why doesn't she like Grindelwald? Because
it must be a mystery box for the next movie. There's going to be some character turn or something. There's a lot of stuff in this movie where they've put some mystery. It's like Star Wars, the Force Awakens, where they put a lot of mystery boxes in it to make people interested about what's going to happen in the next movie. Except
it's much more boring than that movie. At least that movie was interesting to watch, and it leaves on a cliffhanger, and it definitely sets up for a good... everyone was anticipating The Last Jedi massively, and This one, I don't think it's set it up like. I don't think people are going to be dying to watch the next one after watching this one.
It's too much setup for a 5-part series.
There was a lot of setup in this movie.
So Nagini, they escape.
And then there's the Lestrange.
Yusuf,
Yusuf,
which is he's in this movie.
He's in it.
So the first time, so not Queenie, Tina is in Paris. She's there when the whole circus thing breaks out, and then turns around and Yusuf's there.
Yeah, and he's also searching for Credence for some reason.
Yeah, so you find out they're searching for the same person, and he says that he's got something to show her. I can't remember exactly how he convinces her to go.
It's really creepy. He's like, I've got something to show you.
Yeah.
Come into my dungeon and let me show you. Let me show you what I got. Like, magic or non-magic, like, you should not be following that.
Is that all this guy does? Like, he does the same thing to Newt and Jacob later. He's like, oh, okay, just follow me. And then he just chucks it in the chamber, locks them up.
And Tina, being the aura that she is, goes, yeah, I'll join you, mate.
Yeah, let's go look at what you have to show me.
She was interested for some reason.
So, yeah, they go. And then that's when... Is that when Newt and Jacob go to Paris?
They land in Paris.
There's some cool magic here when they land in Paris and he finds a way to find her.
Yeah, the whole mystery thing. It's an interesting kind of magic. There's a question I've always had, but Newt was expelled from Hogwarts.
Nah, he got re-accepted back in.
He did, yeah, okay.
So he got expelled and then Dumbledore gets him back in.
Does he actually? I thought he vouched for him, but he never got accepted back in, and that's why
I think he
out.
gets accepted back in.
Does he? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because it looks like very advanced magic for someone who never finished.
But I think his magic's very different. Like, he's good with creatures. And so I think it's different to a lot of...
He seems like, in the last two movies, if no one knows anything about Harry Potter lore at all, they'll think Newt is the strongest wizard in the movies. If they do not know anything.
No, he's very good with creatures. We saw there's that weird scene where he's like licking the concrete up.
Yeah, that was a bit weird, but
I think they were trying to replicate some of the his weird tendencies from the first one, but it doesn't work because he's not working with an animal here. He's working with a crime scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, he ends up getting a trail,
and then he goes to the dungeon as well.
It's funny, like, so they get locked in the dungeon, but like a minute later they're out, and the guy just collapses as well.
Yeah, he has that weird eye
because
bump.
he has a fantastic beast in his eye.
That thing is so weird because there's a scene with him in the mirror when he's putting the eye drops in, and you see something in his eye, and you're like, "Oh my god, what is this?" And you find out later it's just a small bug, and it's because he's in the sewer.
Yeah,
and that's it. And there's nothing else to that story.
Like why was he putting eye drops in his eye?
Yeah, why not take? He's a wizard, isn't he? No.
So was that required for the story, or was that just to show in another Fantastic Beast?
I feel like it was just a show in. I felt like they were just trying to push in something to be like, oh my god, this character's interesting now for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so.
And then
they go to Nick Flamel's house.
They go to Nicholas Flamel's house.
That was a very pleasant surprise, I thought. Mainly because it does fit in with lore. So Nicholas Flamel did attend Beauxbaton's Academy, and he does live in Paris with his wife.
French,
and he is French.
Yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised that he showed up. I was not happy that he was there at the end of the movie at the battle. That was very unnecessary.
No, man, you need to be there. I thought he was going to use alchemy at the end to destroy the...
Or something other than just put your wands on the gun.
He didn't explain it much, though, did it?
Yeah.
I mean,
he just does a spell. I'm like, why the fuck did you come there to do a spell? Use, like, potions or alchemy or something.
Yeah, that's his speciality.
What about the original... Like, I'm pretty sure this is when Dumbledore starts collating members for the Order of the Phoenix, and that chick that Nicholas Flamel was talking to, I don't know who she was, but I'm pretty sure that she would have been able to help as well. I don't know why she sent Nicholas Flamel when...
Was she dead?
He's talking... Was she? I thought that book was like...
He's talking to a picture, isn't he?
I thought that was like a...
Is that like a phone book?
Yeah, like the Oh, you know what? She could be dead.
Yeah,
I think he was just talking to a picture.
Okay, that would make sense.
Who was that?
I don't know. No idea.
Still, I don't understand
the two mysteries in this movie. Who the fuck's that guy in the corner at the start of the movie? And who's that chick in the picture?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, after that scene, I think it goes to where Credence...
Yeah, with the guy in the corner comes back.
Yeah, just that editing in that scene is just weird. Like, there's another scene where Grindelwald comes to meet Credence, and he's just sitting on the roof. Just sitting on the roof, casually.
Yeah, he's not sitting on the roof. He's like lying down in a seductive pose.
Yeah, he's just it's weird. So the scene I actually thought the scene where Credence finds his nanny was actually pretty interesting. Like
Yeah,
I was actually engaged in that scene. It was good. And then that the guy no one knows comes out and decides to kill him.
Also, the auras are really Avada Kedavra heavy in this movie. Like, they just bring it out straight away. They're like, Avada Kedavra, fuck you.
Killing spells everywhere.
Again, it's the whole. Yeah, there's a lot of that, and even I honestly felt the auras were pretty weak in the movie for being auras. Like they talk about it in the Harry Potter
They
books.
just
Being
keep
an aura
doing
is
Avada
not-
Kedavra.
Yeah, being an aura is not an easy thing to get into.
And isn't Avada Kedavra, like, it's really hard to cast, right? You have to, like, actually want to kill that person. Like, it's not something you just do.
One of the auras just randomly kills the chick at the end.
Yeah, so the nanny dies. She does tell him that she was his nurse, and he has that moment of closure again, and then she dies, and he's back to where he was like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, like 2 seconds
The
ago.
worst character development I've
So,
ever seen.
in the end, it was a totally useless moment.
It was, yeah. Nagini's pretty useless in that scene as well.
Nagini turns into a snake and then does nothing. She turns straight back into a person.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's like, wait, I don't want to turn to a snake forever. No, I'm going back to a
I'm
person.
coming back, yeah.
And then we find out that Aura, who's working for the Ministry, is actually helping Grindelwald. They have a slight altercation. He says that he's risking a lot of stuff by helping him out, and Grindelwald persuades him, and then you never see him again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're
and
just
then
talking in
he's
the
gone.
sewer, right?
Then he's just waiting in other corners of rooms until he's ready to be announced.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up in the other movies. Yep, so Credence is obviously very upset, and that's when the scene on the rooftop happens. Is that just after that, Grindelwald sees him on the rooftop and he gives him that piece of paper.
It's a bit after that. There's stuff we've already talked about that happens in the middle.
Well, there's the part where all the auras turn up to Hogwarts to have a chat with Dumbledore. Do you remember?
Which
And
was
he's-
really random. Like, they turn up to Hogwarts, threaten him, and then they're like, find Grindelwald for us. It's like, okay.
It doesn't make any sense because I'm pretty sure...
Do they apparate into Hogwarts?
They do, so that's one mistake.
Isn't it outside the wall?
They apparate onto the grounds, and I'm pretty sure you
They
can't...
just apparate onto the bridge that leads into Hogwarts.
You can't... Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can't. But then again, Dumbledore says that at being headmaster, he's got some perks. So
Yeah.
maybe... someone said there's something about maybe the headmaster has the ability to give... Like, to allow people to apparate in and apparate out. And he might have then, but he didn't know they were coming. So.
But he wasn't headmaster yet, right?
No, he was Defense Against Dark Arts teacher.
So maybe he only instated that no apparating into Hogwarts rule when he became headmaster.
Maybe,
possibly.
yeah.
Also,
yeah.
Dumbledore's meant to teach Transfiguration. Well, maybe he does afterwards, but I never knew he used to teach Defense Against the Dark Arts. He's meant to teach Transfiguration.
Maybe because they shoehorned Professor McGonagall into this movie, even though she's technically not even born.
He's not alive, yeah. And then they threaten him and say, fight Grindelwald. And then he's like, nah, bruh. And then they're like, fuck, you can't do magic anymore. That's basically it. Yeah.
Again, it doesn't make sense because during this whole era, it's been told that Dumbledore had a really good relationship with the Ministry. They asked him many times to become the Minister of Magic,
yeah.
and he rejected on many occasions. And now suddenly there's another guy who's in charge of the Ministry of Magic who just happens to be a dick. Because apparently the Ministry always has to be against Dumbledore. And yeah, they do that weird bracelet thing, like you can't cast any magic without
I'm
us
pretty
knowing,
sure
and he doesn't
Dumbledore
cast
could have handled that.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
he would have. And it wouldn't have mattered if he went against them anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have mattered.
They wouldn't have said anything, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. And it's like, why does that... even that decision to put bracelets around him so that you can monitor the magic that he's casting, why does that matter?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so he
like,
can't wash his dishes without using...
It's like, oh, Dumbledore's washing his dishes again. We got it this time.
Yeah.
He's been using a spell in the bathroom for a while now. What is he doing? Yeah, there's a lot of decisions being made in that scene. And it was a good scene. And there was obviously the throwback with McLaggen being the student that stood up for Dumbledore saying he's the best student we've got. I think it was...
Also kind of shoehorned in. It would be McLaggen's great-grandfather?
Grandfather, I think.
Yeah, probably grandfather.
1927, and then 1990...
probably grandfather.
Yeah, grandfather.
Yeah.
So it would be the guy who founded the werewolf potion, the werewolf bane potion. I'm pretty sure Slughorn mentions that.
Oh, that's right.
his
He's in the
grandfather
Slug Club.
is the
Yeah,
one-
yeah.
Does that mean Slughorn's meant to be alive in this movie?
Isn't he?
No, I don't.
No, I made that up. It doesn't have to be true. There's no.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no. He has to be. I'm pretty sure he's alive during the era. I don't think he's in the movie. He's obviously not in the movie, but
He might be alive.
Oh no, he taught Tom Riddle, so he wouldn't. He'd be
he was potions
alive.
master from 1920s to 1981.
20s.
Oh, so
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
he was.
He was
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 He was there.
And then there's a flashback sequence with Lita Lestrange.
Yep.
When she was at
Hogwarts. Yeah.
That seems very reminiscent of the third movie where Lupin does the bucket.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It is. That
It
scene
is.
was done very well, I thought. Again, there's a mystery about what actually was her greatest fear. You don't really understand it when you see it the first
It's a
time.
dead
The baby
baby.
floating. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the first time you see it, you're like, what actually is that?
Yeah.
It looks weird. And then there's her going through the halls, and she takes a look at that the wardrobe, and she sees like L plus N.
Yes. Yeah.
And it gives a hint towards like some sort of romantic history that her and Newt had.
Yes.
But then they don't explain why she got with Theseus. Like that was never really brought up, which was a bit confusing to me, I thought.
And then her and Dumbledore have an argument about nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
there's another thing as well. Like Dumbledore's, if he's known for anything, it's about treating every student equally, and he's shown that with Lupin. Like me being a werewolf at school, he let him teach there, especially after being bitten and whatnot. And I can't imagine why Lita would be angry at Dumbledore for anything, and they don't explain why. It's just an altercation for no reason. And
So McGonagall was there in this movie. She was there when Lita Lestrange was a student.
I tried to go online and maybe I'm like, oh, maybe it's not Minerva, maybe it's like someone else. But her dad was a muggle.
yeah, she's
So-
a half-blood.
Yeah, and her mum's a wizard. So all the McGonagalls before her were not wizards, so it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because she was there when Lita Lestrange was a student. So that was like 15 years before. So it's even more wrong.
There's one theory I saw about a time turner possibility, and that's why she's aware of time turners and she gives Hermione the time turner in number 3. But that's just way too much retconning of
What?
the lore.
So
Like,
she
there's no-
time turned back in time so she could teach transfiguration.
No, it
in
was more.
Hogwarts.
I think
That's
theory
how much
was
she
that-
loves her job.
I think the theory was that she went forward in time somehow.
How'd she get older, though?
I don't know. I got no clue. This
How
is
did she
my
turn into
theory.
Maggie Smith?
Let's just tweet J.K. Rowling right now. Yeah, that was another decision to put in a character that was again not needed.
Yeah.
There was no need for her to be there.
Because the Order is only formed when Voldemort is rising, right?
Yeah, the official orders are
Yeah.
formed then. Yeah, so we see that scene, and then it goes back all the way to Newt, and they're at Nicholas Flamel's house, and
They go to the ministry.
they go to the ministry. That's right,
The French ministry.
the French
right?
ministry,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
Jacob is there with Flamel and that guy. Yusuf.
Yeah, and that guy escapes.
And
Yep.
then they all kind of converge on the cemetery side.
So we do see that one scene with a bit earlier on in the movie with Grindelwald's henchmen taking something out of the ministry,
Yes.
like that
yeah.
book, and so you have this sort of like, what are they taking out? And then you realize later it's the Lestrange family tree.
But it's also different to the other Lestrange family tree because it's like a pop-up book, this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a pop-up
yeah.
book. But why did they need to take? Like, what I don't understand is why they took it. Did they need to manipulate it in some way or put it somewhere else so that they could?
I think it was
enable
just
them-
a very elaborate plan of trying to get everyone to the same spot. So they wanted
Right.
Credence to be there when they explained
Right.
it or something. That's the only explanation I can come up with.
They
because
could
it
have just
makes-
said, "Hey, come here."
Come here.
That's another way they could have done it.
Yeah, because like Grindelwald says, like, oh, he's following all the steps.
Yeah.
and-
I guess it's to get him hopeful that he's going to find out who his family is and then crush his dreams again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get him to crush his dreams 3 separate times and then he's
So
ready to join
then
you.
he gets desperate enough to join Grindelwald, probably.
Okay, so Newt and Tina.
Tina,
Newt
yeah.
and Tina infiltrate the ministry. Theseus finds them out immediately with the worst infiltration ever.
And that must be the worst polyjuice ever. It like wears
Lasted
off in
for,
like
like-
2 minutes.
Well, I think he said it would only last until he got inside. It was only like a small vial.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he said it would only last for that long. But yeah, it shows his alchemy work. Or
Yeah,
sorry, it shows his potions work.
Yeah, it's not that wasn't his strengths. That's why he got expelled.
Should have got Nicholas Flamel.
Yeah, the guy's right. Yeah, so they go to the ministry. They try and find the book. They find out it's been taken, and there's a note there, obviously left by Grindelwald's henchman about
move to another.
Yeah, move to the Lestrange family. The crypt, the Lestrange crypt.
There's a really quick cut here. So it's like Leda, Newt,
That's right, and Tina.
and Tina escape the ministry on the back of one of the creatures beforehand.
Yep.
It cuts to back at the cemetery site, and Yusuf's holding his wand against Credence and Nagini, and then immediately Leda walks in and holds her wand against Yusuf.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
It's the quickest cut.
Yeah, it's such a big.
And what I don't understand is because they let Newt and Tina in to the vault, right, at the Ministry of Magic, and then they let Leda in again, like.
I think that lady knew because she presses something. She lets them in. She like goes to her desk and she's like.
So she lets Leda in, and then she calls the
presses
cats.
the cat button.
Oh, the cats were running.
Yeah.
They're running across Paris, getting to the ministry. So it took them some time to get there.
Yeah. So the apparat to the crypt.
No, the monster takes them there.
Does the monster take them?
The beast takes them.
They just land there or something, don't they?
Does the beast?
The beast like goes through this
apparated.
wormhole, and then he lands in the.
Was that the
cemetery.
beast? Okay. I thought that was just Newt apparating everyone.
Nah, there's like this exposition scene at the start where he's like, this beast can go from one side of Paris to the other in a second.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he just meant they were really fast.
Yeah.
So fast.
It's funny that it landed right where they wanted it to land, like just right there.
I mean, they had to stop Yusuf.
And so that exposition scene.
I kind of like this exposition scene, but like it was.
It's funny how Newt and Tina are just standing there. They're just like, "Oh, this is interesting."
There's a lot of people standing there. Like Nagini's just standing there.
Yeah, I know. What the hell is she doing there?
There's a lot of
Jacob's
there's a lot of
just standing there.
Everyone's just. Yeah.
Jacob's just in the corner. He's like waiting for this door to open. It's like, oh, Queenie's down here.
Oh, the door's open. He's standing in the corner with that other guy that's always in the corners.
So they do the exposition scene. There's a lot of questions that you get immediately, especially with that big reveal at the end. But she does the scene.
I was going to ask this at the end. Is Leda Lestrange directly related to...
Bellatrix Lestrange?
Is there another Lestrange that follows on the family line? Or...
So I saw this, yeah. So they are related. Let me just get the family tree up.
Is it the brother of...
Because obviously Leda
Lestrange?
Lestrange isn't going to have any kids anymore.
Yeah, she's not. No, it's not her. It's her. She's like a cousin. I saw the family tree.
Because Bellatrix marries Lestrange, right? She marries a Lestrange.
She marries a Lestrange. Yeah. I did see something. I'm not sure if it's really well explained though. Like the family tree was complex enough as it is, and this just opens up a sibling to Bellatrix's husband.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's a sibling to
the
to the husband.
Yeah.
Sibling to Bellatrix's husband.
Because this is before, right? Because Bellatrix would have been born much later.
After.
Yeah.
Much later. Yeah, much later.
Yeah.
So all I have here is the Corvus bloodline. So it's just the Lestrange family. It starts with Corvus Lestrange. And the Rosier family, which is Heloise Beaufort. So it's just like, it's literally Leda Lestrange's grandfather was Corvus Lestrange. The first.
Okay.
The first Corvus Lestrange. So that's all we can assume is Bellatrix is a descendant of the family line in some way.
So the Lestrange family must be a big family.
It must
Maybe,
be,
yeah.
There must be several siblings, because at one point there's 4 siblings. So there's M. Lestrange. So it must branch out some way. So there's a lot of family things there, and it's obviously going to be... I'm sure that's not going to be too hard to sort of explain, but she must be related to Bellatrix, obviously.
Yes, yeah.
That scene was interesting. It didn't really affect me in any way. I wasn't really emotionally tied to any of the characters. I wasn't really emotionally invested in her story.
I didn't really care.
Yeah, it was just a bit of... Okay, cool.
Let's just tell you everything.
Yeah. So, that scene happens. Bit of explanation. We find out Credence is not a Lestrange. So
It's like-
he's back to square one.
He's like, who the hell am I?
After 2 hours of the movie, we're back
It's like, fuck these guys.
right back to where we started. And then they go inside. They open that door. Who opens the?
It just opens.
It just
like,
It opens, yeah.
It's like, you're done with the explanation? Okay, come in.
He was waiting. The guy in the corner was waiting for the explanation to be done. That was his third job.
It's funny how Jacob's just standing there. It's like, hey, let's go in here. Queenie's in here.
It's like, Queenie's in here. How the fuck do you know Queenie's in there? She could be anywhere, mate. You saw a ball where you saw them together.
Yeah, that's right.
it.
Yeah, he sees the ball. So they go inside, and then there's the whole scene with Grindelwald. I actually thought that scene was good. The way
It was actually
was
alright.
done really well. Like the way he communicates to everyone, that was very it was done really well. And then the auras come, and I think Dumbledore tells Theseus not to get involved. And he actually, Theseus was trying to follow that. Like, he was saying, like, don't get involved.
But then there was that one guy who just does Avada Kedavra on
Yeah,
something.
the one guy who flat out Avada Kedavra straight up.
Like, he didn't even know what she was going to do. Like, she might not have been trying to kill him. Like,
And there's a lot more followers than
auras.
Yeah, there's so many followers already. And the only issue I had with that is that it's very, like, there was never a calling for this, you know what I mean? Like, there was never any moment in the movie where people were like, oh, Grindelwald is meeting here. Should we go? Like, there was none of that. It was just like, all these people must have known that this meeting was happening.
That's the only thing that, because it just seemed way too random.
There is this calling, but I don't know how it works. He puts curtains on everywhere, and then everyone knows where to go.
Curtains come out everywhere.
It's a
Yeah.
very weird scene.
Yeah, like, I thought that was, you know how the Death Eaters have that, like, they turn black.
Yeah.
I thought it was something like that, but it's not. So
What,
Yeah,
they
it's not.
putting curtains on the building? That's the
or maybe
dark
that's
mark.
his, like,
Dark mark.
the Dark Mark. Yeah, I think that's his version of the Dark Mark.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
that
His
evil-
dark mark is protecting people from UV rays. He's sun smart.
I suppose that does make sense because Queenie does see the leader, the Lestrange family icon, that hawk bird thingy. I forgot what the bird's name is,
Oh,
but it's
yeah,
some board,
dude.
like glowing
Yeah.
in the curtain.
But still, that, like, people would have to do some investigating. They would be like, oh, what's this bird? Like,
Yeah,
where
what's
does
this
this
bird?
bird lead to?
And this is only in the magical world, right?
Yeah.
Or else,
only in the
like, normal
magical
people will
world.
be like, what the hell is going on? What are these
No,
black
it's-
curtains?
yeah, only in the magical world.
Yeah.
So weird. Okay, so they do that. That whole scene happens. Lita says, "I love you" to one of the brothers. I don't know who.
It looked like
She keeps it vague. Because they were standing next to each other. So
That's just cold-blooded, man. She's getting married to the brother, and she's like, "I love you" to the younger one.
Yeah.
And again, the auras. The only issue I had with this scene was that
All the auras die.
not just that, but they're powerless. You know, like Grindelwald is very strong. Don't get me wrong, but he's not untouchable.
yeah.
He's
They
not
just
untouchable. The scene was like it's as though like they're like, you know, in their first year of Hogwarts, and he's like this crazy headmaster guy who
They
just
just
cannot
start
be
running
touched.
and they get
Yeah.
fried.
Yeah, and they're trying to like fight the flames and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, I understand what they're trying to do.
I think some of them survive. Most of them die, and then some of them,
And then of course the whole big Queenie joining.
which I thought was stupid.
before that, he had this follower throughout the movie, and at one stage he calls Dumbledore the Great, Albus Dumbledore, like he's about to say it or something. And then he has this fire around where he's standing. And his
know what
followers
you're
can get through the fire,
Yeah.
and anyone that isn't his follower just dies when they go through the fire. And then this guy is walking through the fire and he just gets burnt and dies. Like, he waited till that moment to kill him. He's like, wait, I'm gonna
He
do it
wanted
then.
it to be dramatic.
I
Yeah.
think it was more just if you truly are loyal, then
You can get
you'll
through.
survive.
Yeah, maybe he's not.
It's
Yeah.
just, he's obviously not loyal because he's such a great. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
Queenie joins Grindelwald. Makes no sense.
Yeah, Credence joins Grindelwald. Again, doesn't really make much sense. Does Credence know that Grindelwald was Graves? Because
I
he
think
never
he
sees the
does.
reveal.
Oh,
He never sees the
I
reveal.
know, actually.
Yeah, he never sees the reveal happen, and he, like, it just occurred to me. I was like, I don't know if he actually knows that this is like.
This is the same guy that sucker punched him in the face.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so they join. Nagini doesn't join.
Lita acts like she's gonna join and then tries to kill him.
Tries to take him one-on-one.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
And dies immediately.
Oh, yeah, it gets destroyed.
Yeah. It's funny because they walk into, when they walk into that place and there's all those followers and they're like, this is a trap. And they just walk in anyway. They're just like, okay, let's just walk straight into the trap. It's like, let's at least have a plan of some sort, but not. They're just
Sure. In the fifth Harry Potter book, Dumbledore casts a disapparate charm in the chamber to prevent people from apparating out.
yes.
And I'm pretty sure Grindelwald could have done that easily as well if he really wanted to keep this as it was. But obviously they apparate out, so they escape. And then the flames come up, and that's the climax of the movie. The whole the flames.
Was he just going to burn down all of Paris or something?
I don't know.
yeah.
I've got no clue. But they all turn up.
The biggest
Nicholas
villain
Flamel.
of the movie was Flames.
And the hero was Flamel.
Yeah. Nicholas
Rocks up.
Flamel shows up.
The
And he's
unsung
like,
hero.
guys, form a circle and do this spell.
Stick your wands into the ground.
Yeah, stick your wands into the ground and say the magic words.
Yeah. And we all know that's not how magic works, as we saw with Ron trying to perform that spell. I forgot it already.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Yeah, Wingardium Leviosa. It doesn't work. You can't just say the words. And,
It's not Leviosa.
so yeah, that's the main thing. And then obviously we get the big reveal at the end, which I think we're dying to talk about. Go back to Nermangard. Credence is there, and Queenie's there, and she says that he's very emotional. He's not sure if he should have joined. But if he's not sure if he should have joined, he shouldn't have made it past the flames, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
If that's how the flames
If
work,
that's
but
how it works.
yeah. Or maybe it's just whoever Grindelwald wants to
Yeah, maybe.
wants to come through.
He just didn't like that one bloke.
And yeah, he goes to him, gives him a wand, and then reveals his identity,
As Aurelius Dumbledore, who's
which raises
not a real character as far as I know.
Never heard of him.
Yeah.
So it raises a lot of questions, and there's a lot of theories coming up now.
So there's a couple of theories that I've got. One is, I'll let you explain the one we discussed.
Yeah, sure.
One is that he just lied.
Someone told me that theory as well, but I think that's just so shit in terms of storytelling method.
I think
Yeah.
that's just fans hoping for him to lie so that he can still fit with the lore
Yeah.
of the Dumbledore family.
Like, why would you put that in the movie if he's just going to lie to him and have it
Yeah,
as a big
exactly.
reveal?
So that's just a big cop out, yeah.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah, it's stupid to just have him as him just lying.
And the other one is got to do with the Obscurious.
Yes, that's right.
So
I read this theory as well. But also, it doesn't make sense why his last name's Dumbledore then.
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't mean he just automatically gets a name either. So
Yeah.
yeah. Basically, the theory is that Obscurious can attach itself to another human when they die. So Ariana, it's established that Ariana was an Obscurious, and they're saying that her Obscurious attached to Credence, and hence there's a part of Ariana in him at the moment, and that's the part that Grindelwald is talking to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I mean, there's two parts to this theory, I think. There's one where people are saying maybe he's Ariana's son, but again, that doesn't really fit because I think she was 14 when
I
she
think the
died.
timelines don't make sense.
Yeah, timelines that make sense.
Don't make sense. And he wouldn't be Dumbledore's brother.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's impossible for him to be Dumbledore's brother because he's
Yeah.
too young and his
Yeah.
father dies.
Yeah. In
And
Azkaban.
In Azkaban, yeah.
And
Yeah,
the
in
mother,
Azkaban.
Kendra, dies
Dies.
during the outbursts of Ariana when
Yeah.
she was younger. So the only way that line can make sense is if Grindelwald is talking to Ariana's Obscurial inside Credence. But again, Aurelius Dumbledore.
It just gave him a random name. It's like, yeah, okay, fair enough.
And I think the whole Phoenix thing was just a way of telling the fans that he is a Dumbledore. Again, I don't know how. And then it poses the question as to why a Dumbledore would be on the boat to New York.
That doesn't make sense.
The only other theory I heard was that I think Dumbledore had an aunt that might have had a son, but again, why would she be a Dumbledore?
The last name would have been Dumbledore then.
Yeah, she wouldn't have been a Dumbledore.
Unless Percival Dumbledore had a brother who would also be Dumbledore, and this is...
Yeah,
It still wouldn't be his
It would
brother.
Be a serious retcon.
Still wouldn't
yeah.
be a brother, but yeah.
Yeah.
It would be a cousin. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, those are the theories.
But like, why was this never mentioned in any of the other books at all? Surely, in the memoirs of Dumbledore, they surely would have had a mention.
Yeah.
And it also leads to the whole, why was Grindelwald searching for the Obscurial in the first book? Like, did he know that the Obscurious was Ariana's Obscurious, or did he know that he was searching for a Dumbledore? Did he only find out that Credence was a Dumbledore after?
Yeah, and
There's just a lot of questions.
he also mentions when he's talking to his very loyal follower that only Credence can defeat Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that works
Yeah,
either.
he says the
Yeah.
greatest threat to their cause is Dumbledore.
Credence couldn't even defeat the guy who hides in corners.
Yeah, that's right. That was a crazy spell shield that guy cast, and he's just smiling, looking at. What is he going to do against Dumbledore? But then again, Dumbledore has the bracelets on him, so he's weakened now.
Yeah, he's weak. But the bracelets are off now.
Yeah, they're off.
Yeah. They remove it.
And then Credence does some interior decorating for no reason.
Yeah, he blows the hole in the wall and like.
It's like, man, we just built the castle. Come on.
Imagine what would have happened if he got his wand from Ollivanders.
Yeah.
So he's never done magic, right?
No, he never would have done magic.
Okay.
That's his first time doing magic.
Yeah, that's the first thing he does.
He's more powerful than like,
Destroys a wall.
he's more powerful than half the auras that show
Yeah. The other thing is maybe he is a Lestrange. I don't know.
Yeah, that could
Yeah.
be. Maybe he is a Lestrange.
And maybe Bellatrix is like his descendant.
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. There's one scene we did miss, and that was Dumbledore in front of the Mirror of Erised. And he's looking at what he craves most. And it's weird because it's more a memory than it is
Yeah.
what he wants most.
Like,
It's
what he
not-
craves most, he's already done. He just
Yeah.
wants to do it again.
I feel like instead of the Mirror of Erised, they should have done his what do they call it?
the pensive.
The pensive, yeah, the pensive.
thing would have been cool.
That would have been
That would have been.
that would have made more sense. Than
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So yeah, we see what that silver emblem was. It was a blood pact that he made, which I'm not sure exactly how it works. I mean, we've seen that there are things like unbreakable vows and things like that. Blood pact, I'm not sure, but it throws a spanner into the whole cog of why he never wanted to fight Grindelwald in the first place. He says in the books that he's always afraid of knowing who was more powerful or who was more skillful, because that would have been the person who accidentally killed Ariana during that battle that they had, like that altercation that they had between Dumbledore, Aberforth, and Grindelwald.
yeah.
But this sort of makes it seem as though he couldn't do it because of the blood pact.
Yeah.
And he has to find a way to destroy it before he can fight Grindelwald. So it's like, again, it's a bit of retconning, and it's not something that ties in with... Because like the way that J.K. Rowling set up Dumbledore's character was perfect. And it was set. And now it's like redoing the character almost, I feel.
Yeah, almost.
It's interesting, but I'm sure that will come up in the later movies.
There's a lot of stuff that they'll have to explain in the later movies.
It's just, it's all over the place. And I think the ending scene is they go back to Hogwarts. They go
back to Hogwarts, and then Newt leaves everyone on the bridge, and he goes in alone for tea. Is everyone else just going to wait on the bridge until he comes back?
Yeah, so he gives him the blood pact. Dumbledore's like, how did you get this? Which sort of begs the question, like, maybe he could have just asked him from the start. You need to get that from him.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he probably should have just asked him to get it.
Yeah, and how did the Niffler know to go for that? Like, that's the one thing I want to know. Like, there must have been so many jewels or emblems in that room.
Yeah.
And the Niffler decides to go for the one
that one
matters the most. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, it is what it is.
It is, I guess. The other thing I just wanted to say was, so I mentioned earlier that Steve Kloves wrote the screenplays for the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, even me back then, I wasn't completely happy with the Harry Potter movies because they kept leaving out stuff from the book. But when you watch this movie, you realize why they leave stuff out of books, because you got to let a movie breathe. Like, it doesn't work the same way as a book.
No.
You can't have as much detail as a book has.
Yeah.
And I feel like J.K. Rowling wrote this movie like she would write a book.
Yeah.
Put in as much detail as it would in a book, and that's why it seems very detached and disjointed.
Yeah, I think we can see that writing a screenplay is very different, and we saw that with The Cursed Child as well. Like, yeah, it's not the same thing.
So maybe she needs some help with screenwriting.
Maybe, yeah.
But
yeah,
I'm still a big fan of J.K. Rowling, but she's starting to lose me a bit with all these retcons and just yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Because it begs the question. I mean, there's still 3 more movies left, right?
Yeah.
And I think we can say that maybe the reason there wasn't as much Dumbledore and Grindelwald is because they'll show up later.
Yeah.
There's just
but
so
they
much
should consider dropping the Fantastic Beasts, maybe, because it's not really about that anymore.
It's not. It's not about that.
Maybe it'll be Crimes of Grindelwald, something else now. It's just the subtitle gets carried on to each movie.
Crimes of Grindelwald, he does some more crimes.
Yeah, there's more crimes in this one. Because he didn't really do any crimes in the one before.
Yeah.
That's the full title.
So I guess the sequel's in 2 more years. They haven't confirmed anything about it, apart from, I think Eddie Redmayne did mention that it's going to be in Rio de Janeiro.
So we know that they're going to touch.
Yeah.
They're going to touch on all the wizarding communities. I think that's what J.K. Rowling said. The last movie is set in 1945 when the battle happens between Dumbledore and Grindelwald.
Yes.
So that's still
18 years.
18 years away. Yeah. So the next 3 movies have to span 18 years, which is a bit worrying, but it'll be interesting to see how they do it.
It could be a bit of a slow burn. Is there much to happen between now and then?
This was meant to be the whole... Well, this movie took 1 week, so...
Yeah.
So, I mean, the whole thing is about how Grindelwald gets his army. Like, all his followers and whatnot. I guess that's the big thing, really.
I want the next movie to just be all about that guy in the corner. I want him to be the main character.
The crimes of the guy in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's coming up. 2 years for the next movie. I think there's going to be a story, not a story, like a blurb or something coming out in the next couple of months.
Yeah, I think
about what the movie's going to entail. There will be a Fantastic Beast element to it, and Rio de Janeiro, maybe we'll see like dragons or native creatures to that land.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
We've never seen like
South American,
sorry. Yeah, I'm like, that's not the right continent.
Yeah.
No, we haven't.
South American people in the movies, I don't think at all.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't think we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't really go to Hogwarts.
No. And the school, the Brazilian school for magic is Castelo Bruxo is the school. So maybe we'll see that.
Yeah, maybe they'll have a brief visit there. Also, another funny part in the movie that I just remembered, Grindelwald's like naming all the different names for muggles.
Yeah.
And one of them's card spells. And I'm like, who the hell's calling them card spells?
I don't know, man. He came up with the earliest Dumbledore. Maybe he came up with card spells.
Yeah.
Is that because he's German, right? Is he German?
He's some kind of European.
Yeah. Maybe it's what Germans call them. All right. I guess that's all we had to say about Crimes of Grindelwald. I guess unless you guys had anything else you wanted to mention.
No,
I really enjoyed it. I had a good time.
I think our review was more coherent than the movie.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think you can. Personally, I'd like to change my after my spoiler review rating to 3 out of 10 stars. After all we discussed, I've just realised how much I didn't like it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So if you guys had any questions or if you just didn't like our opinions, there'll be a lot of people that didn't like probably our opinions.
Yeah.
Send us a tweet or an email about what you think. But before we finish up, we'll quickly go through some news. There was some sad news this week with Stanley passing away. He was 95, I think. 95. So yeah, he did pretty well. 95. He
nearly got to Dumbledore's age.
Yeah,
around 150.
Yeah.
But yeah, great achievement with all the Marvel comics and all of his cameos. I read a stat actually. He is the actor with the highest grossing films. Like if you add up all the films he was in, he's got the highest grossing box office numbers. Followed by who do you think's second?
Can you give us a clue?
They were also in Marvel movies.
That's quite a lot.
They're also in Marvel movies. Like MCU?
Yeah, MCU, yeah.
It's got to be... Just trying to think who's in the most Marvel movies. It's not RDJ, is it?
No, it's not RDJ. He's up there. I think he's like 4th or 5th, but...
Scarlett Johansson.
No. It's Samuel L. Jackson.
I was going to say something, but he's not even in that many.
It's not just Marvel. So he's in quite a few Marvels, but he's also in Star Wars. But
he's in a lot of other movies.
He's in all the Star Wars.
He's in Star Wars as well. Right, so he's got a lot from those. But Stanley's got the most out of everyone. Yeah,
that makes sense.
But he's filmed... you were telling me he's filmed cameos for the next 3?
Yeah, he's definitely got an Infinity War one. He's probably got 2 or 3 more. They filmed a lot of cameos in advance because, as bad as it is to say, they kind of knew he wasn't going to stick around for a very long time because he was having some health problems. So yeah, they filmed like 5 or 6 cameos.
There was a couple of trailers that came out this week. One of them being we'll talk about the Dumbo trailer. You're the one who actually told me about it.
I told you about that one, yeah.
Well, I actually liked it.
I did.
I liked it.
Yeah.
You didn't like it?
Well, Just because it doesn't look that interesting.
Wait, so it's not as good as Crimes of Grindelwald, you reckon?
Nothing compared. It doesn't have a guy in the corner. From what I can see.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I like the trailer, but I felt like I watched the movie when I saw the trailer. Does that make sense? Like, I felt like
it showed a lot of the movie.
It definitely gave away a lot. Yeah.
But that being said, I'm keen to watch it. It's very interesting. New story.
Also, it's Tim Burton, and I hate Tim Burton movies.
It's got a good cast though. It's got all his favourites. It's got Danny DeVito. It's got Michael Keaton.
Though. Where's Johnny Depp?
Yeah, it doesn't have Johnny.
He was too busy, man.
He was busy with Crimes of Grindelwald.
He's busy with crimes that he's not committing.
Busy committing all those crimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll probably watch it. It's coming out in March next year.
Yep.
And the other trailer that came out this week was
Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu, yeah.
Which I liked. I like this one.
I liked it too. Yeah, it looks pretty funny. The only thing is, I guess that they went with giving Pikachu a voice, like talking.
Yeah.
I thought Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu is hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's a new take on it. I'm keen to see where it goes.
Yeah. But just for me, I never thought Pikachu was furry. I just never imagined him as being a furry.
I like how he looks.
There's
I kind of like
all
it.
All the Pokemon look furry, don't they? Jigglypuff looked furry. Charizard had a bit of fur on him.
Yeah.
Even Bulbasaur, like all the Bulbasaur lines, some of them looked furry as well. I think it's just the way they're going with the Pokemon.
Yeah.
They're just.
I think they look good, but I just never thought they'd be furry.
Yeah, me neither.
And I like the fact that only that kid can hear
Pikachu
him as Ryan Reynolds, and everyone else hears him as just Pikachu.
Pikachu, yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
It looks like it will be a fun, like, buddy cop movie, which I never think of with Detective Pikachu, but yeah, it looks funny.
It's got Justice Smith, who was in
that
Jurassic World.
Park movie.
Yeah. But no, it looks good. Coming out in May, so we'll be reviewing that one as well. So yeah, before we close up, we always have 3 questions that we ask our guests.
You say always, but we've only done it once before.
Well, thanks, Buji, for coming on.
No, my pleasure.
It was good to have a. I was scared that you two might actually like the movie, and I'd be the only one that doesn't like it. But it was good that you liked it. So you didn't like it.
The other way around. It was only me that liked it.
Yeah,
I was very taken in my review.
Yeah, so it was good to have that opinion with us, and we'll definitely get you back on at some stage.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but the 3 questions we ask. So one is, who is your favorite superhero?
Favorite superhero in any universe?
Anything.
Oh, jeez.
Is it the guy in the corner?
He doesn't count as a superhero to me, man.
He's my superhero.
Barely counts as an aura to me as well. Favorite superhero of all time. Jeez. I'd have to go with I really, really do like Shazam from the original comics. Before he was Shazam, when he was Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, yeah.
The original comics. He'd probably be one of my favorite, I think. Especially right now, given the new Shazam movies coming out. I'm keen to see that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd have to go with Captain Marvel.
Maybe we need to get Buji on the Shazam podcast.
Shazam, yeah.
Podcast.
We'll get you in on that. Okay. And who's your favorite super villain?
Super villain? Oh, that's a really tough one. I think at the moment, I'm really into Sherlock, so I'm just going to go James Moriarty for now. I've been reading a few books, and that guy's a genius. The stuff that guy gets up to.
Have you read Moriarty by Anthony Horowitz?
No, I'm not up to that one yet.
Yeah.
But I've heard it's good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, I need to read that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I've read all the Sherlock Holmes. So I've got all the audiobooks, so yeah. No.
Yeah, I'd have to go with Moriarty, especially because a lot of the characters in like modern fiction are based on Sherlock and Moriarty, like the whole relationship they've got. And it's just, amazing. Amazing villain.
And last question. What is your favorite superhero movie?
Superhero movie? Oh, right now it's Infinity War, number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen that so many times.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant.
Fair enough.
I watched it the other day. Still great.
Yeah, still amazing.
Yeah, like we had Curity on the podcast for the Spider-Man PS4 review, and he also said Infinity War.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people it will be.
Be hard to pass up. I mean, it's been 10 years in the making.
Yeah.
The build-up's been perfect.
Yeah.
The movie delivered.
So yeah, I guess that's it. But yeah, I think based on your answers, we'll get you on for Shazam, since there is a Shazam movie coming up.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Keen for that.
Okay. I guess we'll close up. If people want to contact us, how do they do that?
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the other one.
Email?
Email, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram at Cognitive Recalibration, Twitter at C Recalibration, and Gmail at Cognitive Recalibration Podcast at gmail.com.
And we're available on all podcasting platforms now. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, whatever you use. And lastly, if you do like our content and you enjoy our reviews and our weekly shows, please do give us a subscribe so you don't ever miss out on any of our episodes. And we've had them pretty regularly now. We're getting one every week. And Tuesdays, we've gone with Tuesdays as the day an episode comes out. So just look at your feeds on Tuesday and you should see an episode from us. Okay, that was an action-packed episode. We've got through a lot. This might actually be our longest one as well.
It's a great movie, that's why. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it.
I didn't, but yeah. All right, then. We'll call it a day with that, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. See ya.
See you guys.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
I'm Lara Marie Shanehalls.
And I'm Carrie O'Donnell.
And together, we are the hosts of Sexy Unique Podcast, a podcast for geniuses about reality TV, pop culture, and every once in a while, a tangent about 9/11.
I mean, it really affected all of us.
On Sexy Unique Podcast, we insist on discussing the creme de la creme of reality television.
From the current season of Vanderpump Rules to tried and true classics like early seasons of Real Housewives of New Jersey, to underrated gems like VH1's Rock of Love, and even Gallery Girls, we're talking about all of it.
So what are you waiting for? Listen to Sexy Unique Podcast now on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever podcasts matter.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.